What is going on, everyone? And welcome back to another Sports Talk on Tap video. We're here. You can find daily uploads Monday through Friday covering all the four major sports leagues, whether that be NHL, NBA, MLB, or NFL. And I'm Jake, that's Nick. And in today's episode for our NHL segment, it's only fair we do a couple of things. We're going to shortly get into our reaction of award winners yesterday. Agree, disagree, stuff like that. But we also should give a congratulations to UC Saros of the Predators. Got absolutely paid. I forgot the term. It was a long-term deal, though. I think like almost
8 years. I think it's 8 years, $62 million, which is a lot of money in hockey.
Overall, though, been a steady, consistent to the Predators team that's always been, around the playoff hunt. He's been one of the best regular season goalies of this, 2020s and, late 2010s. So credit to the UC Saros, gets an absolute bag. And, I think he deserved it. He's one of the best goalies, one of the most consistent because, you have your goalies like Jacob Marks from that pop up for like a year, then fall off. He's always been kind of consistent. And, it's very hard to find that in a goalie, And so the Predators lock up that. And I'm hoping, it pays off for them. And he lives up to that contract. But overall, for now at least, looks like a good move for the Predators to secure their franchise goalie because, like I said, you don't find consistent goalies that often, but he's been a consistent mainstay on that Predators team that's gone through coaching changes, all that stuff. So
it's a big show. That's a big lockdown because he's still young. You always want to lock up those young players, especially if they're goalies, because they're so hard to come by.
Yeah. No, I agree. And then, Predators, they were a playoff team last year that took the Canucks to 6 games. So it'll be interesting to see what they can do around the edges to, improve this team and finally get over that hump. But Nick, got a couple of main awards. What do you want to start with?
We can just start with the Rookie of the Year because I know one of your guys was actually in the running for, or at least a finalist, Brock Faber. So I just want to know if you think he should have won it or if it was just Bedard's trophy from the start.
I think
know people are indifferent about it.
There's definitely a lot of hype about Bedard. Obviously, rightfully so, coming into the year. So I think people had him penciled in as a winner before the season even started, really. But when I looked at who contributed more to their team in success, I really thought Brock Faber did, but that's just the way it is. And it was close in voting, which surprised me alone because I really thought the voters would just still pick Bedard based on name, but the voting was pretty close. And I gotta Bedard was really good, but he also missed like 20 games. It just kind of reminds me of Connor Bedard. He'll probably, obviously be the better player, the more flashier player. Brock Faber overall, I thought was really good. So I think just one of those awards where it's tough to overcome that deficit you faced. Who would have I voted for? Probably Brock Faber, just because he played the whole year, was playing like 25 minutes and was just an absolute dog. Like I really enjoyed watching him. I thought he contributed more to success because I know, plus minuses and everything, but Bedard, that line still struggled on the defensive end of things, and half the game is defense, and they weren't winning any games. So, it's just whatever, though. It's just one of those awards where, Brock Faber probably, is he a little, does he care? Probably a little bit, but he's probably more focused on winning. And, this award was Bedard's basically from the start. It was around the same as Wembayama hype. Wemby really won the award though, because Chet had a great season, but Wemby's was just unreal. Bedard didn't have an unreal season. It was a good season, missed some games. I thought Faber was the better player, but it was never going to be the trendy pick. But maybe if Faber was in a market like New York, could have argued that there would have been more media push for him to win that award. I mean, but at the end of the day, I'm just glad Brock Faber's on my team, so I don't really care. Obviously, I like Bedard too, but it's just one of those awards where it was clearly made up, all the hype going in, and he had some Bedard really came on second half of the season, like a little bit before the injury and then after the injury. But Brock Faber was consistently really good. And I think even it went to show, I think after his season wrapped up in Minnesota the year before, there was no time left. It was playoffs, and he was already starting playoff games in the season before. So, that goes to show how much trust they had in him. And he was playing 25 minutes, so he was a workhorse for the team. And, it's just whatever. It would have been nice to win the award, I guess, but, it happens. The hype. I never thought he really stood a chance, even though I thought he was at least had the better season. But, I'm not going to, cry about it, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm. You make good points. I think just one thing that they take into consideration, other than the fact that it was like the most hyped prospect in forever, was like the team he played on. Just because I think he had Connor Bedard, I'm talking about. He did have like a way worse, like he probably had the worst supporting cast in the NHL on the Blackhawks. Like I don't know if I could name you, other than Taylor Hall that the Bruins dealt there to start the season. I don't think I can name another guy that is like a huge contributor. I'm pretty sure it was Taylor Hall and Nick Foligno, but like I don't think Taylor Hall really did anything this year. Nick Foligno was kind of just like he's a fourth liner that was, I believe, on the second line in Chicago, maybe even first line.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you are right. He was kind of written in as the winner from the start, and Brock Faber kind of just, broke out onto the scene and really surprised a lot of people. And maybe if they didn't, just automatically think Bedard was going to go insane this year, then maybe Faber could have even won it. Because, like you said, it was a close award. It's not like it was a unanimous vote for Rookie of the Year. But I do think Connor Bedard he's gonna be one of the top players in the league very soon. Oh, he just lost a jersey.
Yeah,
But,
Josh Dobbs was really pissed about that award.
yeah, I understand, but I mean, it's an award that's like it's cool if your guy wins it, but it's not really the
It
winner.
is, I mean, but at the end of the day, there was just too much hype. But I really do think Brock was the better player this season. But it is what it is. It's going to happen. I really didn't expect it just because the hype was crazy. And Bedard, had a really good season. But I think Brock's was just, it's not a points thing because he's a defenseman, but just all the
Right.
block shots he was making, just the amount of ice time he was playing. He was grinding out there on a team. Because if the Wild barely missed the playoffs, if they didn't have him, I don't think they would have been even anywhere near playoff contention because Jared Spurgeon was out for most of the season. Jonas Brodin missed a good chunk of the season. They're two other top two defensemen, and Jared Spurgeon, their captain. So, it is what it is. He stepped up in a huge way. But, it's an award on the next season. But, yeah, I don't know why they do these awards so late. But
it is weird, yeah. It's kind of like the MLB does them like I think right before the World Series. It's really weird.
But you know what I look at? The NHL all-rookie first team. I think maybe it's just one team, but the all-rookie team, you had Bedard there, but you also had Brock Faber and Marco Rossi. So you have two Minnesota Wilds on the all-rookie team. So the future's bright is all I'm going to say when you have that. And they Wild have traded.
How old is Kaprizov? He's like 24, isn't he?
No, he's a little bit on the older side. It was actually just his birthday yesterday, so I think he's 26, 27. But he's right in his prime. Yeah. So, and then Wild the last 2 years have graded the number one prospect pool. Hopefully we saw some of those guys come up late in the year, and they were still winning games. So I'm excited to get younger. I'm tired of seeing like Matt Zuccarello run around the ice. But we'll see. But yeah, no, shout out Bedard, shout out Brock finishing second. And I think third was Hughes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Luke Hughes or whatever. There's so many Hugheses in the league.
Right.
And then probably most important award next, Nathan McKinnon wins the Hart or MVP basically for people that don't know what Hart means. For me, I didn't really for this one. I know people would say McDavid or someone else, but Nathan McKinnon was really a beast on the Avalanche this year. They did deal with a lot of injuries, questionable goaltending at points. I thought Nathan McKinnon just had the best year. Crazy amount of goals. I wouldn't have minded if someone said Austin Matthews, just because he had almost 70 goals.
Mm.
But this war was so difficult to come find out. But I really do think Nathan McKinnon was the most important player to his team, and I think that shows when in the playoffs too. When they win or lose, it depends on how good he plays or how many points does he score really. So I would have gone Nathan McKinnon on this one, even though still maybe McDavid. And you could argue, obviously, McDavid's still more valuable to his team, but it's just a year-to-year basis. They're not going to, they're going to get voter fatigue at some point. And this was a year where Nathan McKinnon, I believe, had more points than McDavid and, was on a really good team. So why not?
Yeah. I know a lot of Tampa Bay fans are mad that because I believe the finalists were McKinnon, Kucherov, and I don't even think McDavid was a finalist, which surprised me considering he had 100 assists. But I think it was those two and Austin Matthews. But I would have given it to McKinnon too. I'm on your side with that. I was saying that before the playoffs and everything because I know everybody after the playoffs this kind of confuses everyone with the awards because I was hearing stuff about Vezina and it should have gone to the guy who won the Stanley Cup. It's like that's not how it works. It's playoffs. Do not this isn't affected by playoffs. So I think Nathan McKinnon was the best player in the league this year.
Yeah.
And he was voted it. I'm pretty sure the Ted Lindsay is like a player voted award. Like, who do you think was the best player this year? They asked all the, a lot of NHL players, and they voted Nathan McKinnon. So even his own peers are saying he's the best player in the league this year. I thought he was the best player in the league this year. He was going on some crazy tears. I know he had his, home ice point streak where he had at least 1 point in I don't even know how it was. I know it was up in the 30s, maybe 40 straight home games, probably 30s because you can only play 41 home games. But
and I'm not going to
here.
Yeah, and I'm not going to because I really don't believe plus minus is everything, but it does tell me when Kucherov has 44 goals, 100 assists, 144 points, and is only a +8, that isn't a lot of power play work being done there or a lot of poor defense. So I feel like you got to take into account something like that. Just how beneficial are you to the power play? Because we've seen guys like Chris Kreider and Nikita Kucherov is obviously better than Chris Kreider, but we saw Chris Kreider have 50-something goals a couple seasons ago. But there's a reason why he wasn't even a finalist for the Hart because, you got to be able to do it on both ends at a high level and regardless of the power play. And, that's just a little thing where I think, maybe he bumped down a couple points. I feel like Nathan McKinnon's just proven he can do it 5v5. He's just faster than everyone on the ice, basically, and just can do it all. And be a one-man wrecking show, really. So I wasn't upset with that award.
Yeah, same. I'm glad we're both in agreement on that,
And then do you want to move into Quinn Hughes?
Yeah, the Norris. I mean, the Norris Trophy, I know it's, the label on it is the best defensive player in the league, but what it's really come down to is, whatever defenseman scores the most points is probably going to get it. I know Erik Karlsson got it last year because he had 100 points, but he was playing for the Sharks, and they were given so his plus minus was awful.
Norris
I feel like that should matter with defensemen more than anyone. If your what your plus minus is. So I know the Canucks were good this year, so I'm not trying to, and Quinn Hughes is a really, really good defenseman, probably a top 3 defenseman up there with, Cale Makar and all that. But I think, the award needs to be reevaluated, I should say, because it shouldn't just go to the guy that scores, 20 goals and has 60 assists just because he has a bunch of
I do agree that might be a problem. The Erik Karlsson season was an interesting one just because he was obviously the best offensive defenseman by far, but on real defense, he did, he was also playing for the Sharks, but, he did kind of struggle. So it was kind of, did he deserve it? I probably would have given it to him just because I'd never seen a 100-point season by a defenseman, especially with the San Jose Sharks. But just how poor they've been the last couple of years. But, you know, Quinn Hughes was obviously really good. So it's kind of like one of those like, oh, yeah, you could, say Noel Makar, Adam Fox. But, yeah, I feel like it should be based on really who is the best defender. Like, I want to look at things like block shots, like just like the behind the number cards that back up, that this player is playing really good defense and, is locking up when they're on the ice. So I wish there could be an award that would be reevaluated or just make one most points by a defenseman. Like make that an award like best offensive defenseman. Like I don't need to see like, this,
Right.
stuff.
It's kind of like in the NFL. Like, should there be a separate award for like quarterbacks because they're always the ones getting MVPs? Like, just that kind of mindset where it's like maybe we should make two separate awards, like one for like you said, best offensive defenseman, and maybe just best like overall defenseman.
Yeah, I agree. And then final award, the Vezina, best goaltender in the league. Even though, a lot of people may not agree with it, Connor Hellebuck was really good this season for the Jets. People forget the Jets were the second seed in the Western Conference. I think they were, in the Central at least, the second best.
I know they won I'm pretty sure they won their division, didn't they? They were a 1 seed.
No, the Dallas won the.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right.
But Winnipeg was the 2 seed, but then they just got embarrassed by Colorado in 5 games. Yep. And that defense and that goaltending performance is really hard to swallow. But at the end of the day, this is a regular season award. So, it won't go to someone like Bobrovsky, for his outstanding goaltending in the playoffs. Connor Hellebuck, his defense left him out to dry, and it was a sour way to end the season. But this is a regular season award, and the Jets were a really good team in the regular season. So you got to give credit where credit's due. But, Bobrovsky doesn't care about stuff like this. He just lift a Stanley Cup trophy. So, that's what matters most. But, yeah, overall, very interesting award. But, Connor Hellebuck was really good. I talk about UC Saros consistency. This guy's been the definition of consistent for Winnipeg for years. So I don't really blame him for that playoffs. Part of it was on him, but the defense really left him out to dry in that series. I think every game they allowed at least 5 goals. So that's unacceptable.
Interesting to see here. I'm just taking a look at like the voting and stuff. Hellebuck was 1 vote away from being unanimous, and the one other goalie that got a first place vote was actually Bobrovsky, and he finished 3rd. So I thought he was going to finish 2nd.
Who finished 2nd?
Thatcher Demko from the Canucks.
He was really good though for the.
He got hurt for the playoffs, but he was very good this year.
Yeah, so you could argue him. I think Hellebuck was.
I think it went to the right guy though.
Yeah, it did.
I agree.
As much as people hate the or how the postseason really doesn't impact these awards, there's a reason why there's a postseason award and this regular season because it's what the teams did throughout those 82 games to get to that spot. With that being said, I think there was also like a Jack Adams award, or has that been?
Let me take a look.
Just because I think that's also the award that we might be missing.
It's Coach of the Year, right?
Yeah.
It was Rick Toche. Correct me if I'm saying that wrong, but the head coach for the Canucks. The Canucks won it.
Not really mad at that. Canucks were a young team that's kind of on the come up right now, so respect to them. I wouldn't have also minded if it went to Peter Lafayette for the Rangers just because of how great of a season they had. Just overall, really can't blame anyone there. Those guys Canucks were really good. It was a good season. So overall, kind of, maybe the most controversial was the Rookie of the Year, despite, Bedard being the biggest name. Overall, though, I think it was a good – they didn't really screw anything up, in my opinion, badly. That would, make me pause for concern. But, this kind of, really wraps up the end of the year, and we're kind of now on to the 2024-2025 season where pretty soon we have the draft coming up, and then we also have free agency where we'll be here to recap all that fun stuff. But let us know in the comments what you guys agree and disagree with on these awards. Who you think got robbed, maybe? Who you think deserved an award, or were these awards all rightfully deserved? And we'll catch you in the next one. Peace out.